Every athlete knows how to train hard. Almost nobody knows how to rest correctly. Marcus Aurelius, a man who commanded armies, managed an empire, and trained his body and mind with extraordinary discipline, understood something about rest that most modern athletes have never considered. Rest was not the opposite of training. Rest was training. He built deliberate, philosophical recovery into every single day of his life, not as a reward for hard work, but as a non-negotiable component of his performance system. Today we unlock Marcus Aurelius's complete philosophy of rest and recovery, and show you exactly why the way you recover is just as important as the way you train. Welcome back to Stoic Athlete, where ancient wisdom meets modern fitness. Modern fitness culture has a deeply confused relationship with rest. On one side, the hustle culture that says rest is weakness, that champions are built by training every day without mercy, that sleep is for people who do not want it badly enough. On the other side, the comfort culture that uses rest as an excuse, that finds reasons to skip training and calls it recovery, that mistakes laziness for self-care. Marcus Aurelius navigated perfectly between these two extremes. He understood rest not as weakness and not as indulgence, but as a philosophical practice, a deliberate, purposeful component of becoming the strongest possible version of himself. Today, we break down his 5 principles of strategic rest and show you exactly how to build recovery into your training, the way the Emperor of Rome built it into his. Marcus Aurelius wrote something about rest that completely reframes how every athlete should think about recovery. He said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." He was talking about presence, about the quality of your engagement with every moment, including your moments of rest. Marcus Aurelius rested with the same intentionality he brought to everything else. His rest was not passive collapse after exhaustion. It was deliberate withdrawal for the purpose of returning stronger. He slept on a simple military cot, not the lavish bed of a Roman emperor, because he understood that the quality of rest matters more than the luxury of the environment. He created conditions for genuine recovery: simple, quiet, consistent. The Roman military understood this better than almost any civilization in history. Roman soldiers built fully fortified camps every single evening, not just for security, but because the ritual of creating a proper rest environment signaled to the nervous system that recovery was beginning, that the demands of the day were complete, that the body and mind could now do the work of rebuilding. For the Stoic athlete, rest is wisdom, not weakness, for one precise reason: your body does not get stronger during training. It gets stronger during recovery from training. Every adaptation, every muscle fiber rebuilt thicker and stronger, every neural pathway refined and reinforced, every energy system expanded, happens during rest. Training is the stimulus. Rest is where the stimulus is converted into actual improvement. The athlete who refuses to rest is the athlete who trains the stimulus endlessly, without ever allowing the adaptation to occur. They are working harder and harder for diminishing returns, because they have confused the signal with the result. Ret is where the result lives. Marcus Aurelius knew this. Now you do too. Marcus Aurelius practiced something that would be considered almost radical in modern fitness culture. He did nothing. Deliberately. Regularly. He wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." He practiced daily quiet contemplation, periods of complete stillness where he withdrew from the demands of empire, from the noise of the court, from the physical demands of military life, and simply sat with his own thoughts. This was not laziness. This was one of the most demanding practices in his entire philosophical system. To sit completely still with your own mind, to observe your thoughts without acting on them, to rest your body completely while engaging your philosophical practice, requires a discipline most people never develop. Modern neuroscience calls what Marcus Aurelius was doing default mode network activation, the state where the brain consolidates learning, processes emotional experiences, and generates the creative insights that focused activity cannot produce. The brain, during deliberate stillness, is not inactive. It is doing some of its most important work, consolidating the physical learning from your training sessions, processing the emotional demands of your discipline practice, generating the motivational insights that will drive your next breakthrough. For the Stoic athlete, doing nothing deliberately means building one period of complete stillness into every single day. Not scrolling your phone, not watching content, not listening to podcasts. Complete stillness. 5 to 10 minutes minimum. Eyes closed. No input. Just your own mind doing the work it cannot do when you are constantly filling it with external stimulation. This single practice, 5 to 10 minutes of daily deliberate stillness, will improve your training performance more than most supplements, most training tweaks, and most motivational content you will ever consume. Marcus Aurelius knew this 2,000 years before neuroscience confirmed it. Marcus Aurelius had a specific relationship with sleep that every Stoic athlete needs to understand. He wrote about the struggle with sleep in Meditations. Not sleep as indulgence, but sleep as the philosophical completion of each day. His evening practice, which we explored in video 16, ended with a deliberate transition into sleep. The review was complete. The day was examined. The recommitment was made. And then, sleep. Not scrolling through the events of the day in an anxious loop. Not planning tomorrow's training in. Not consuming content until exhaustion forced unconsciousness. Deliberate, intentional sleep as a philosophical practice. The conscious closing of one day and the preparation for the next. The Stoics believed that sleep was a small rehearsal for death, and therefore a practice in releasing control, in trusting that the world would continue without your management of it, in accepting that your work for this day was complete, and that continuing to engage with it was neither productive nor virtuous. For the Stoic athlete, sleep is not the time when training stops. It is the time when training's most important work begins. During sleep, your body releases human growth hormone, the primary hormonal driver of muscle repair and growth. Your nervous system consolidates motor patterns. The complex movement skills you practiced during training become more refined during sleep than during any waking practice. Your immune system conducts the cellular repair that prevents injury and illness. 8 hours of sleep is not a luxury for athletes who want optimal performance. It is the minimum investment required for your training to produce its intended results. Marcus Aurelius treated sleep as a philosophical practice. Treat yours as a training practice, because for the Stoic athlete, they are exactly the same thing. Here is where Marcus Aurelius's philosophy of rest becomes most counterintuitive for modern athletes. He believed that the discipline of rest was equally demanding and equally important as the discipline of effort. He wrote, "Do not indulge in dreams of having what you have not, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you do possess, and then thankfully remember how eagerly you would have sought them if they were not yours." He was talking about presence, about being fully in whatever moment you are actually in, including your rest days. Most athletes do one of two things on rest days. They either feel guilty and anxious, mentally fighting against the rest, planning their return to training, consuming training content, to feel like they are still doing something, or they collapse into complete passivity, using rest day as an excuse for every other form of comfort, indulgence, simultaneously. Both approaches miss the Stoic philosophy of rest entirely. Marcus Aurelius's approach to strategic rest was active and deliberate. He used periods of reduced physical demand for increased philosophical practice. More writing, more contemplation, more review of his principles. He maintained the discipline of his routine while reducing its physical intensity. 4. The Stoic athlete. The strategic rest day is a training day for everything that hard training days do not allow. Active recovery, gentle movement, walking, mobility work that maintains your physical practice without adding training stress. Nutritional attention, using rest days to focus deliberately on the food quality that hard training days make difficult to prioritize. Philosophical practice, journaling, reading, reviewing your training philosophy, setting intentions for the next training block, mental rehearsal, visualizing the sessions ahead, reviewing your technique, preparing your mind for what your body will be asked to do. The Stoic rest day is not a day off. It is a different kind of training, one that Marcus Aurelius practiced with the same intentionality he brought to everything else. Marcus Aurelius wrote about something he called the inner retreat, a philosophical sanctuary he could access at any moment, regardless of his external circumstances. He said, "Confine yourself to the present. Understand that the universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make." He was describing the ability to find genuine rest, not through external conditions, but through internal ones. This is perhaps his most sophisticated understanding of recovery. The emperor who could never truly step away from his responsibilities, who, even in sleep, was the emperor, had to learn to find genuine rest within the activity of his life, rather than by escaping from it. He called this the inner citadel, the unassailable fortress of his own philosophical mind, a place he could retreat to in the middle of chaos, in the middle of battle, in the middle of the court's endless demands, and find genuine rest. For the Stoic athlete, the inner citadel principle of rest means developing the ability to recover mentally, even when external rest is not fully available. The 5-minute stillness practice we discussed is the foundation of this. But Marcus Aurelius took it further. He could find his inner citadel between sets, during hard training, in the moments of walking between exercises, in the transition from one activity to the next. These micro moments of inner retreat, 5 seconds of complete presence, 10 seconds of deliberate breathing, 1 moment of conscious stillness in the middle of activity, are how the Stoic athlete builds recovery capacity that transcends the limitations of scheduled rest days and sleep hours. The inner citadel is always available. Marcus Aurelius accessed it constantly. Learn to access yours, and your recovery capacity will exceed anything a training program alone can provide. Marcus Aurelius trained as hard as any human being who has ever lived. Through war, through plague, through decades of unrelenting responsibility. And he rested with the same philosophical discipline he brought to every other aspect of his life. Here are his 5 principles of strategic rest. 1. Rest is wisdom, not weakness. Your body gets stronger during recovery, not during training. The adaptation lives in the rest. Protect it completely. 2. Practice deliberate stillness daily. 5 to 10 minutes of complete silence and stillness. No input, no distraction. Let your brain do the consolidation work that activity prevents. 3. Sleep as philosophical practice. 8 hours minimum. Deliberate transition into sleep. The conscious closing of each day and the preparation for the next. 4. Rest days as different training. Active recovery. Nutritional attention. Philosophical practice. Mental rehearsal. Not a day off, a different kind of day on. 5. Build your inner citadel. Find micro moments of rest within activity. 5 seconds of presence between sets. 10 seconds of deliberate breathing between exercises. The inner retreat that is always available regardless of external conditions. Marcus Aurelius understood that the emperor who cannot rest cannot lead, and the athlete who cannot rest cannot grow. Rest is not the end of your training day. It is the beginning of your next breakthrough. This is Stoic Athlete. Train your body. Master your mind. Rest with intention. Scubri for a new video every week. Marcus Aurelius is waiting.